The Russian Revolution of 1917 was a pivotal moment that led to the overthrow of the Tsarist autocracy and the establishment of the world's first socialist state. The Bolshevik Party, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power in October 1917, according to the Julian calendar, and initiated radical social and economic changes. The Soviet Union was officially formed in 1922, following the Russian Civil War, which saw the Bolsheviks emerge victorious against various opposing factions. Figures like Lenin and later Joseph Stalin played significant roles in shaping the early Soviet state, implementing policies aimed at consolidating power and transforming society along communist lines. The rise of the USSR, 1917 to 1945, 1917 to 1922, the Russian Revolution sparked a civil war between the Bolshevik Reds and anti-Bolshevik Whites, as well as various nationalist and foreign interventionist forces. The Reds emerged victorious, establishing Bolshevik control. 1922, the Treaty of Creation of the USSR officially united several Soviet republics into a single federal state, laying the foundation for the Soviet Union. 1920s, the Soviet government faced the challenges of rebuilding the war-torn country and consolidating power. Lenin implemented the New Economic Policy, NEP, a temporary retreat from full socialism to revive the economy through limited capitalism. 1928 to 1939, Stalin's leadership saw the implementation of aggressive industrialization and collectivization campaigns under the five-year plans. These policies aimed to modernize the Soviet economy and rapidly build up industry and infrastructure. The peak of power, 1945 to 1964. 1945 to 1953, the Soviet Union emerged from World War II as one of the world's two superpowers alongside the United States. The wartime alliance against Nazi Germany soon gave way to the Cold War rivalry. 1953, Stalin's death led to a power struggle within the Soviet leadership. Nikita Khrushchev eventually emerged as the new leader and began a process of de-Stalinization, denouncing Stalin's cult of personality and initiating reforms. Late 1950s, Khrushchev's reforms included agricultural modernization and a thaw in cultural and political repression, known as the Khrushchev Thaw. However, his leadership also faced challenges and criticisms. Before Stagnation and Decline, 1964 to 1991, 1964 to 1982, the Brezhnev era was characterized by political stability, but also economic stagnation and a growing disconnect between the ruling elite and the general population. This period saw a reliance on heavy industry and a lack of innovation. 1979 to 1989, the Soviet intervention in Afghanistan became a costly and protracted conflict, draining Soviet resources and undermining international prestige. Mid-1980s, Mikhail Gorbachev's leadership brought about significant reforms aimed at restructuring the Soviet economy, perestroika, and fostering openness and transparency, glasnost. However, these reforms also destabilized the system and led to unintended consequences. 1989, the collapse of communist regimes in Eastern Europe, symbolized by the fall of the Berlin Wall, signaled the beginning of the end for the Soviet Union's control over its satellite states. 1991, an attempted coup by hardline communists against Gorbachev's reforms failed, further weakening central authority. The Soviet republics began declaring independence, leading to the formal dissolution of the USSR on December 26, 1991. The factors behind the rise. Strong leadership under Lenin and Stalin provided the vision and direction needed to establish and consolidate power. The ideology of communism resonated with many during periods of social upheaval and economic inequality. The rapid industrialization and militarization efforts of the Soviet government boosted the country's economic and military strength. Victory in World War II solidified the USSR's position as a global superpower and enhanced its international prestige. Six causes of the fall: economic inefficiency and stagnation resulted from centralized planning, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and a lack of market mechanisms. Political repression and the suppression of individual freedoms bred dissent and undermined popular support for the regime. Nationalist movements within the diverse Soviet republics challenged the unity of the state and ultimately led to its dissolution. The arms race and Cold War pressures strained the Soviet economy and diverted resources away from domestic needs. Gorbachev's reforms, while well-intentioned, inadvertently weakened central authority and paved the way for the unraveling of the Soviet system. 7. Conclusion. The rise and fall of the USSR represented a complex interplay of historical, political, and economic factors with profound implications for global history. The legacy of the Soviet Union continues to shape contemporary geopolitics, serving as a cautionary tale about the perils of authoritarianism and the challenges of managing diverse societies within a centralized state. 8. Additional resources. Viewers interested in exploring the topic further can consult books such as The Rise and Fall of the Soviet Union by Richard Sakwa, or documentaries like The Soviet Story for a comprehensive understanding of this fascinating period in history.